Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter. I almost had my don't even get me started that this shit's glitching already. You know how pissed off I got. You know how pissed off I got the other day. Am I really glitching that bad? It's not even close to working now. I switched internets this time around too. This one's not even close. I switched internets this time around too. This has to be something with Twitter. This is ridiculous. This is as glitchy as it's ever been. I'm on a different and the fastest internet possible. I've got like 50 Mbps upload speed with 500 download. I swear to God, it's like, okay, I think it's a little better now. Okay. It's working for now. I don't know what to do, people. My internet's fast. It's just always something different. I've had to unplug. I can't even use this microphone on stream anymore because every time I connect it, StreamYard just craps out completely. And it's all a bunch of static and bullshit like that. Now I can't even do a stream that doesn't like glitch half the time. I promise I don't want to complain this much. I will. Complaining is one of my favorite hobbies. But when technology just continuously fails, what's the point of having your product if you're just going to update it every week and it just keeps breaking and breaking and breaking? It can't be my internet. I'm on 2 different internets now. Okay, enough complaining. Let's return now that the stream is working to somewhat positivity here. How's everybody doing out there? Happy Friday, January 16th. Coach Mike, Noti Gang is here in the chat. I see y'all. What's up, Shaden? Oh, a stacked Friday slate. My God. Thank goodness, I should say, that I've got you guys here to at least vent to about this slate. For those of you that are not aware, that use this show to come in here and figure out what the hell is going on in the NBA tonight. Well, let's take a look, shall we? Because you got the 2 worst teams in the league leading us off between the Pelicans and the Pacers. ESPN for the second time in 2 days is going to feature the Cavs at the 76ers. Same game as Wednesday night, same channel. All right. At least we're getting some of the mainstays present in this one, probably the only game. You got the Bulls and the Nets. You got the Clippers in Toronto. No Kawhi Leonard making his return. His one time per year to the city of Toronto will not happen tonight as he's out. You got the Timberwolves at the Rockets. On paper, this game should be great. Anthony Edwards, dealing with a toe infection, is out. And then the nightcap, the Wizards and the Kings. So you are speaking with someone who will be taking the night off. I will not, for the first time in a long time, be sitting around watching NBA games. That I am willing to admit I earned this night off. I'm going to get dumplings. I may go play some poker. I will watch the first half of the first couple of games, but I most certainly am not wasting one of the very few Fridays that I have remaining in my life on this. How's that for a promo? On this. How's that for a promo? All right. What else you guys got? I'm just going to stick with this internet, people. It's the other one was the same too. Give me a second. Maybe I can try it. I just hate messing with things when the stream's already live. I don't know what else I can do. There's no like StreamYard setting to make it more whatever. One of few. It's all relative. How many Fridays do you think we have? Let's do the math on this, Helwick. There's what, 52 weeks in a year. There's 52 Fridays. I'm 38 years old. I'm going to anticipate living hopefully to my 80s. 52. What's 52 times 50 2 times like 40. I have 2,080 Fridays left in my lifetime, I think. 52 times 40, yeah. 2,080 Fridays left in my lifetime. And I'm not going to spend one of those 2,080 watching the Pelicans and the Pacers, or the Bulls and the Nets, or a Kawhi-less Clippers returning to Toronto, or a Timberwolves team without Ant-Man in Houston. I'm going to go spend it doing something else. What's up, Chad? Yesterday it's been a rough week. We are in the dog days of the NBA schedule right now. Now, if we get some news regarding ins and outs, that will certainly get some closing line value. We've been hot as of late. Greenberg, what's happening in the chat, asks, where is Kuminga landing? Well, okay. Let's begin. Is my audio even working, guys? Well, okay. Okay. You know what? If the audio is working, I'm going to keep myself in the picture-in-picture because at least I have a static screen behind me and it won't look as if I'm completely frozen all the time. Question. Oh, where's Kuminga landing? If I had to guess, Sacramento's in the lead. Maybe Chicago? Ugh. Chicago, Sacramento, and of course the Lakers want to do something because their team stinks, especially defensively. They got plenty of firepower, but they're not beating anyone in a playoff series that's good with that defense. I know they've wanted Herb Jones, but we've been told he's not going anywhere. Kuminga isn't necessarily a defensive solve, and he's going to cost you assets. Something tells me the Lakers are content with just trying to win games by scoring 135 points every single night. Because if they can make it through this season with a somewhat decent result, their books are so clean next year. So clean. First of all, before we continue, I see 2 comments here in the chat. First of all, what's up? Karibana. You need to specify MJ NBC News. I need to know what that's about. And then Donnie, you're saying the Spo Kalel Ware stuff. I need specifics on what's going on, and then I can react to it. Especially if I don't know if it's fake news or not, but you guys are going to have to bring me up to speed on some of it. But I do think there is part of the Laker business plan that consists of, let's just have LeBron play his final season here, even though it's uncertain what he's going to do next year. Let's maybe win a first-round playoff series. Let's not do anything detrimental to the long-term health of our books so that when we get to the 26-27 campaign, that will include Luka Doncic essentially picking his entire team. Bill Duffy has replaced Rich Paul very clearly in that front office as the influential power broker. Now you've got Rich Paul on podcasts practically spilling tea. Like, he wouldn't be doing that if he still had power in the front office. But now with LeBron on his way out, no Anthony Davis, Clutch Sports doesn't have the same presence within that franchise that it once did. That's going to be Bill Duffy and WME. They are going to, in a way, they are going to be the general managers for the Lakers because Luka's going to recommend all the players that Rob Pelinka should be targeting during the offseason when the Lakers have all sorts of money on their books. Oh, good. Now it's just completely crapped out. What the season when the Lakers have all sorts of money on their books? Oh, good. Now it's just okay. When my StreamYard craps out, it goes completely black. It goes completely black, but you guys can still hear me because I'm listening to it on another device. So I'm just going to keep talking, and you guys can deal with me being all sorts of glitchy. Long story short, I don't foresee the Lakers making any drastic moves this year because you have a LeBron James making what, 52? I can pull this up. My guess is he's making $52 million. Los Angeles Lakers salaries. He's got no trade clause. He's expiring. Like, first of all, who's taking this contract? Secondly, who is LeBron ever approving this being traded to? Look at these books. Look at the books. So LeBron and his $52.6 million comes off if you don't re-sign him to a better number. You take that money and you surround Luka with guys that you can build a team around. Rui comes off the books, 18.2. Gabe Vincent comes off the books. Maxi Kleber off the books. DeAndre Ayton's got a player option, which I don't know what he's going to do with, honestly. Marcus Smart, too. But there's nothing detrimental here, and Austin Reeves is going to need to be paid. This is pretty clean in comparison to where the Lakers have been in years past. And I don't think they're going to want to put anything major on the books. You trade for Kuminga, you're eventually going to need to sign him to an extension because you're giving up assets to acquire him. So it's going to be a team that wants his services long term, I would think. This isn't a rental. This isn't a CJ McCollum situation here. Joel Embiid is a go. He is a go tonight for the Philadelphia 76ers officially against the Cavs. Evan Mobley, by the way, starting to werewolf into Defensive Player of the Year again. How about that? Brian, what's happened? Says more like what did Kuminga do or not to get permanently benched by Steve Kerr? Of course, there's got to be the only explanation here is that there's something going on behind the scenes inside of the locker room or closed doors where the relationship between Kuminga and Kerr is just. What did Shams use the term? He said, just not repairable. Now, yeah, I found it interesting that Draymond Green last night we have the official starting lineup for the Sixers. It's Maxey, Edgecombe, George, Barlow, who got hurt. Nice to see him back in the starting lineup, and Joel Embiid. Real quick. Yes, those of you that were watching, I don't know why you would have been up so late, but if you watched the postgame show on Amazon Prime last night, you would have seen Draymond Green, after they beat the Knicks, being interviewed by the Prime studio. And he made a point to defend Jonathan Kuminga's professionalism and how, despite everything that's going on, he's still engaged, he's participating in practice, he's vocal, he's doing all the right things. And that's kind of, if anyone is notorious for calling out players who are going to inevitably be traded by the franchise, or a situation isn't working and the chemistry's off, Draymond will take this quite literally, physically, with said players in the past. But that he is publicly voicing support for Kuminga, I think is notable because that would suggest that he's doing all the right things as someone who's in a really shitty situation, but is not being a detriment to the rest of the team. The Warriors have been playing better basketball as of late, and it has really put a Band-Aid on a compound fracture that is Jonathan Kuminga's career at the moment. Now, I also, if you want me to go get some tinfoil, I can go put some tinfoil on my head, and maybe this is a Machiavellian way of Draymond Green showing public support for Jonathan Kuminga so that other teams feel comfortable trading for him because even Draymond wants him off the team. But knowing that Draymond and Steve Kerr have butted heads recently too, maybe this is him taking the other side. I could think of multiple conspiracy theories as to why Draymond is so adamant on supporting Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe it's genuine and that no tinfoil is necessary. But he's going to get traded, and hopefully before the deadline, so the Warriors can just move on. If this goes into the summer, I understand there might be some more options available, but there is no way the Warriors can move forward with legitimate championship aspirations if the Kuminga situation is unresolved. He makes a decent amount of money. He's taking up a roster spot. And fans are always going to be clamoring as to what are we doing with this guy? So my guess is he does get traded, and he does get traded soon. And I would say the most likely candidates are the Sacramento Kings and Chicago Bulls or something like that. Some of those middling teams. Coach Mike says no one is seriously going to trade for Anthony Davis right now. I mean, they could. You're just not going to send any assets. This is a man that was once traded for Luka Doncic, and now he's probably going to get you an expiring contract and a protected first-round pick. We are talking about stock value that cratered, similar to Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers. Enron. It's not at 0.00, but it's, I mean, Anthony Davis and his availability have made him untradeable for anything of significance. Greenberg asks, why is Kel'el Ware suddenly not playing? He is a decent starter, to be honest. I know him and Spo have similar to Kuminga and Kerr, butted heads at time to time, and Spoelstra's had some post-game comments that have kind of subtweeted him in a way about professionalism and being ready. But Kel'el Ware is an absolute monster. He's one of the few players on this planet that can nullify a Victor Wembanyama matchup, which he has done a couple of times already. He shoots threes. He's gifted around the rim. He is so freaking tall and long. And honestly, he's the most intriguing prospect that Miami has, including Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Like, Kel'el Ware raises their ceiling if he ascends to fulfill all of that potential, which it looks like he has. Oh, here we go. Donnie says, Spo was roasting Ware's effort in post-game presser, essentially, when somebody asked why his minutes had dipped so much. Okay, so we know that Spoelstra and the Heat have Heat culture, and if someone is just not bringing it during practice, Eric Spoelstra is more than willing to make an example of them. Probably done it in the past. The Spurs have done this with some guys that don't mesh with the culture or the chemistry, whether it's Steven Jackson, DeJounte Murray recently. You could be a good player and just find yourself out of the rotation and on another team, because these organizations with that type of culture, you're going to get limited playing time as a punishment. It's not the first time this has happened, but Kel'el Ware is one hell of a talent. What's up, Francis? Sorry. Saw a headline that MJ declined further NBA on NBC interviews. Declined, I'm not so sure about. Just that they won't be doing another one anytime soon, I think it's different than declined. But I too have found this to be a little strange. And I don't want to say it's a conspiracy theory, but my thought on what's going on with MJ and NBC and why they just did that one interview and they're going to consider that the special contribution for the season is because of NBC's NASCAR presence. I thought that we were going to get a ton of cross promotion with 23XI Racing, which is owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, and NBC broadcasts, because they have both the NBA on NBC as well as NASCAR on NBC. What a perfect opportunity for Michael Jordan to do some PR. You can find ways to integrate the two because they're doing it already. The cars driving around for 23XI sometimes have colorways of Michael's shoes, right? So the integration is so seamless and easy. But Michael Jordan, for those of you that don't know, has recently been in a lawsuit, an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR, which I think they ended up settling. But I do wonder if NBC maybe just wants to keep him off the air for the time being because the NASCAR thing was such a big deal. But the NBA fans are not going to be privy to most of this information or day-to-day of these cases. They're just not going to see Michael on their television a lot. And I see some more chats here. I'm going to get to your question here in a second, Hodor. And I just wanted to similarly, so we have Michael Jordan's interview is a bit of a letdown, right? I mean, he told a couple of nice stories. He had some nice remarks, but I think we were anticipating him commenting on current day NBA, current players, what's going on in the league, providing his insight, potentially in studio. That doesn't seem to be something that's going to happen. Now, that's his choice, of course, but when that announcement was made, I think there were high expectations because anything Michael says just instantly carries weight. More than anyone on the planet. Similarly, the situation with inside the NBA is starting to bother me. So because ESPN's broadcasting schedule is lighter compared to years past, meaning they don't have the same quantity of games, that also means they're not needing pregame shows and postgame shows in the same allotment that they previously had. The result of which is we got one day of inside the NBA, which is obviously Christmas, between the end of November and practically the middle to end of January, there was only one show. So it's incredibly inconsistent. And when we get to February, if you look at all the schedule of all the times Inside the NBA is said to be broadcast, they're going to be on the air a ton in February specifically. And that's because the NBA has those Saturday primetime showcases, Sunday afternoon showcases. They're going to be on the air left and right. My problem here is, first of all, they are slotted for 30 minutes and not an hour and 15. What made Inside the NBA one of the greatest studio shows of all time was that they had the freedom and the time to just do their skits, their segments, and ramble about current events, and some NBA included as well. No one was ever watching for X's and O's. No one was ever like a breakdown of the game. They would talk about it, they would tell a story, but ultimately they would get off track and it would turn into a comedy show. That's what they are, and that's why people are interested in the content. But now you are cutting them down to, let's say, 30 to 45 minutes after the game ends because you got to queue up and get ready for SportsCenter. That concise programming, there's got to be commercials in there too. They're probably under directive from the league to show highlights. So they're not going to be doing all those fun little skits with products of when they come back from commercial and they're like grabbing the little things that fall from the chandelier. You know, that's what made Inside the NBA what it was. And also it being late at night, they can just ramble and ramble. People would watch it before they go to sleep. It doesn't have the same aura when it's being run at 2 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. There's something, it's a late night show. It's late night comedy. The same way that people, millennials and Gen X, would go to bed with David Letterman, Jay Leno, and Conan O'Brien. This was the sports equivalent of a late night talk show. And it just, to me, the content does not fit that particular audience on a Sunday at 2 p.m. It doesn't hit the same. So it's not only inconsistent, it's being shortened, and the program material is having to be constrained around, to be edited around these time constraints. It's almost feeling a little forced to me when we get it. And the result of which is going to be it dying a slow death. I think the talent are eventually going to become apathetic. The talent are going to become apathetic towards doing the show. And you know what? This is over. Like, it's not the same. Appreciate you guys. We're going to sign off for good. And then they're going to be off the air within whenever their contracts are up. I assume they're on a season to season deal and they just keep renewing, year after year. ESPN needs that content, and they have their own deal with TNT. Something tells me the show will not be long for television. Okay, sorry about the rambling. Ho D Door says, if we do a 2024 NBA redraft, how high does AJ Mitchell go and how low does Reed Sheppard fall? So Reed Sheppard's been struggling a little bit, but I don't think we need to use him as the poster boy of redrafting. So 2024 NBA draft. Let's take a look real quick. How about we zoom in? With that, let me do it. What is this? Privacy choices. Reject. Jesus. Oh, wow. This is the draft that stinks. Okay. Oh, my God. How do we redraft 2024? Where does AJ Mitchell go was a question. Is he even on the board? Is he undrafted second rounder? Oh, my God. Tristan Da Silva is going to probably be a top pick. Bub Carrington. All right. So if we're redrafting this, Klingon, Dillingham, Edey, Holland. All right, I'm ready. I'm going to go. Wow. Wait, is K. George Keontae? Did the Knicks draft Keontae George? Is there a trade there? Did we lose that pick? Okay. My redraft is Kel'el Ware 1, Buzelis 2, Castle 3, SAR 4. Ugh. I'm just looking around here. There's who's even Tyson 5, De Silva 6, McCain, I guess 7, Klingon. Ugh. AJ Mitchell's got to be in the top 10 somewhere. I think my top 5 is going to be Kel'el Ware, Buzelis, Castle, SAR. Oh my God. I don't know. I'll let the chat figure out who number 5 should be. Good question, though. Mitchell was straight up targeting Shepard over and over last night. Yeah, Ime Udoka had to take him off the floor. And if he's not making shots, he can't be out there. And then if he's not making shots, then you know what? You don't get into rhythm. Coming off the bench, you have just one chance to make you get one chance to make a first impression. And if Ime Udoka, if I'm not getting the buckets out of Reed Shepard, he already has this mindset that I'm not going to be getting the defense. You're coming out. And I went through the starting roster. Today. That their starting lineup last night. So Kevin Durant and Jabari Smith Jr. are 2 of the 5 that you would deem to be threats from outside the 3-point arc. Then there was Josh Okogie, Amen Thompson, and Alperen Sengun, which means 60% of your starting lineup is not deemed to be a threat by defenses when it comes to closing out, when it comes to staying at home because you're worried about someone punishing you with proper floor spacing. No, they're cheating off those guys, especially Amen Thompson. And they're scared about what that guy could possibly be doing at the rim. So now you get a whole bunch of clogged toilet, Kevin Durant having to shoot over the top. And if he has a night of inefficiency like he did, and you got Reed Shepard who can't go out there and be the point guard that this team desperately needs, who's their floor general? Who's their table setter right now? I think that was supposed to be Reed in a way. But, man, Houston going through it right now, man, they do not look worthy of being in the conversation. They got some holes. Donnie says that Spo insinuated Ware was intentionally playing poorly because he wasn't getting his full allotment of minutes. Oh, wow. I didn't see that. That's if Ware's stomping his feet because he's not going to win that argument against Pat Riley, Alonzo Mourning, and Eric Spoelstra. AD is the Enron. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm just catching up to the comments. AD is the Enron of the NBA. Scam fraud. But AD was so good for so long, man. Similar to Dwight Howard, you cannot let the final years of his career and his unavailability make you forget that that is one of the most influential big men to ever step onto a floor. Hornets history, what's up? Says, I can count on one of my hands, even if I was Jason P. Why did you have to include JPP in your comment? Even if I was Jason Pierre-Paul. How many times MJ ever did outward-facing pressers with Charlotte media? Very unsurprising how he acted even with the lawsuit. That is a fact. MJ does not do media. And even when do you remember during like COVID and when there was Black Lives Matter for the George Floyd situation in Minnesota, everyone was like, every brand was being peer pressured into donating money to causes and such. And then everyone was like, why is MJ so silent? MJ so silent. And then out of nowhere, 2.5 weeks later, he dropped like a $10 million, something nuts, a gargantuan amount of money. And he just said, like, here's the money, we support whatever buy. But that was the extent of their donation and all the above. He didn't give a presser. He didn't, not that I remember, but he's always been that way. He just moves in silence. What's up? FRW in the chat. I got Minnesota. Oh, that's a cool nickname. Minnesota instead of Minnesota. Does it feel like Cat still seems like an outsider, or on the Knicks team. Do you think it was a bad look for Brown mucking it up with Draymond after what he did with Cat that game, or am I crazy? Okay, so that I have a lot of beef, especially even with Knicks fans, after what's transpired here the past couple of games. But Mike Brown chucking it up with Draymond is fine because Cat, Josh Hart, and OG, they were over there chopping it up with Draymond even after he reached out and grabbed his ankle. They too were just shooting the shit with him. So Mike Brown wasn't like the first to break the ice on that. I do want to revisit Cat in a second, though. Keyshawn George. Oh, shit. The Knicks had Keyshawn George? Damn it. Okay. I don't think we need to go back to the draft, but yeah, that's great. That draft is, I'm definitely taking Khalil Ware 1 because of his ceiling, and then Buzelis 2. I think, is that a consensus? Okay. Or maybe flip flop and then Castle 3. Is chat okay with my top 3? I can't even get to a top 5 with that draft. I don't even know where to put Risache. Maybe even Keyshawn George should go number 5. That's correct. It was probably traded, and we made a pick for the Wizards, and that's why the Wizards are shutting down Trae Young this year, because there may have been a pick swap of some kind, and it's protected 1 through 8, if I'm not mistaken. And if the Wizards were to fall outside of the top 8, it goes to New York this year. So that would explain why the Knicks and Wizards have this like draft relationship. I don't know if it's related or not, but it would make sense if it is. Carter, what's up? In the chat says, is there a certain NBA season that stands out to you as your favorite or most memorable, whether it was when you were younger or since you've been covering the NBA? Well, I can answer both. I would say when I was younger, 1994 for me was probably the year I fell in love with the NBA. I was 7, 8 years old. Michael Jordan wasn't around, so everyone had a chance. And the Knicks made a run to the NBA Finals, Game 7 in the Summit in Houston, and John Starks did not shoot the ball well, to say the least. But beating the Indiana Pacers, watching Reggie Miller cry in the locker room, that was one of the best Knicks teams of all time. I think the year prior to that, they set the Madison Square Garden record for wins at home in a single season. They were must-see, and like TV. Everyone stopped everything they were doing when the Knicks were on in the city. It was just a great time to be supporting the team. That was the epitome of blue-collar basketball. And now that was just personal fandom, but I will say, since I started covering the NBA, I will stand on this, and it sure looks like a great take. It's aging like fine wine, that we will never have a season even close to being as entertaining as what happened in 2016. So that was Kobe's victory lap. That was the Golden State Warriors making a run for the record in the regular season. That was the 3-1 collapse by the OKC Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, the birth of Game 6 Clay, and then obviously one of the greatest final series of all time, 3-1 comeback, LeBron's chase down block, Game 5, Draymond suspension. That season was incredible from start to finish. And that was also when players were very engaged with social media. They put the clues on like who they were wanting to sign with, and there was so much engagement that was just natural, and 2016 is the answer to that. Are the Thunder back yet? The Thunder never went anywhere, by the way. I'm holding my OKC stock. No one's beaten them 4 out of 7 times. If fully whole. Austin Rivers calling out Steve Kerr is wild. How do you see Kuminga drama playing out? Did he call him out like by name, or was he just commenting on the Kuminga situation? I saw that he has been saying that it's the process of which Kuminga is not being played is disrespectful. But I think that's more of just podcast culture nowadays. Brian says, Wob, since you're a Knicks fan, how do you feel back in the day when the Knicks gave Jerome James the bag? I'm old enough to remember that MSG commercial. Jerome James, the guy with the glasses. Jerome James. Look at my shirt, by the way. Look at this shirt. John Starks, Patrick Ewing, he's on fire, NBA Jam. I think John Starks is holding a fire extinguisher here. Like, these are my days right here, man. 1994. If I could go back in time and freeze it, either 1994 or 1999. Greatest years to be alive. It was just technology, culture, you know, it was also desirable. But what was the original question? Sorry. Oh, Jerome James. Jerome James. That was a huge deal when the Knicks traded. He even got his own commercial for it. Boy, did he stink. The Knicks whiffed on every single trade or transaction they made those years for like 15 straight. Kids that are fans of the younger Knicks fans now did not have to live with those 15 years of complete irrelevancy and always making short-term decisions to get the star there or clear cap space to go after LeBron. The Knicks just missed over and over and over again. They have an owner that was micromanaging everyone beneath him so that nothing would ever get out. There was like propaganda news reports. It was, y'all have no clue how rough it was coming out of the 90s, man. Seeing how Van Gundy went out, there was tumultuous relationships between fucking Glenn Wald and Van Gundy and Riley. It all just fell apart. But the Knicks are back now, and kids are like, oh, this is an easy franchise to root for. That's what it must be like the opposite, to root for the Bulls if you weren't alive for Jordan. Because what have they done? They had one great year of Derrick Rose, then he got hurt at the end of it. They had that MVP campaign, Bulls top seed in the East, and then the game against the Sixers. And they weren't alive to enjoy that team being a global brand. Oh, yeah, if you're bringing up all of 1994, yes, the Rangers Stanley Cup coinciding with the Knicks run to the NBA Finals. There was the OJ, that was OJ White Bronco chase. Which Knicks trade or free agent signing got you most excited at the time? Oh, Melo. That was the Knicks' return to relevancy. Because that team with Amari Stoudemire and Landry Fields, that was, who else was there? Mozgov, Felton, Gallinari. Hit the sacks, by the way. That was such a fun Knicks team, and Amari was who the Knicks couldn't get the prom queen in LeBron, so they settled for the 2:00 scramble, picking up the soft 7 at the time, which was Amari Stoudemire and his knee injuries. Uninsured contract. If he were to hurt those knees, the Knicks would owe him every dollar, and they took him home. But when they brought in Carmelo Anthony, that game against the Bucks, they hit the I'm coming home, I'm coming home. That intro, oh my God. And even after that trade, it's still like we don't stand a chance against the Miami Heat, but maybe we'll just get to play them. And boy, did we ever. Amari Stoudemire ended up punching a fire extinguisher, and that was the end of the series. Where was I in all this? How did we get to Jerome James and Carmelo Anthony and Danilo Gallinari? We're a little off the rails. There was a question earlier, which I said I would address. It was from that Minnesota account. Who was that? Minnesota. Oh, yeah. So I had a little bit of beef. I apologize to anyone that watched my late night Knicks thoughts video, but I'll just quickly summarize it, give a Spark Notes version right now. So the Knicks lost a back-to-back on the road on the West Coast. Started in Sacramento, then last night in Golden State. And I'm waiting to unfreeze. Okay, I'm unfrozen. Yeah, let me go back to what was working before. Okay, so against the Sacramento Kings, there was a play where Karl-Anthony Towns did not get back on defense. And it was because he didn't get a foul call. He was on the floor. He slaps it in frustration. And the Sacramento Kings get to play power play basketball 5-on-4. They get a shot up, they miss, they get a second chance opportunity, they score. Cat still wasn't back. So everyone was like, are you kidding me, Cat? Like, you just cost us 2 points because you were busy doing something on the other side of the screen. But because the camera pivots from left to right, you couldn't see what Cat was up to until well after the game when we got the backboard angle where you could see Cat was very clearly trying to scramble to get back. First he slips, and then because the shot goes up and misses, he turns around and he starts running towards the rim for an outlet pass, thinking the Knicks were going to get that rebound and he was going to go make them pay. But instead, oh crap, they got an offensive board. I need to get my ass back. And in that whole time, he's like running back and forth. You don't see any of it, but he wasn't just sitting on the floor slapping it and, Luka Doncicing the referee all the way up the floor. So I thought that was a little unfair. And because that was such a talking point on Knicks Twitter that night, and all anyone wanted to discuss, the beat writers that were traveling with the team, one of the first questions that Mike Brown got asked at the post-game press conference podium, which is usually just minutes after the final buzzer, where he hasn't been online, he probably doesn't even have, he gets handed a sheet of paper with stats. He hasn't had time to talk to the assistant coaches and, let's review everything that he just gets asked the question about Cat. And he gave a response which kind of gave it some validity, and that Cat needs to know better. And something like this has happened before. And Cat has been around long enough to know this, that, and whatever. Even though I didn't think it was justified in that moment once you saw the alternate angle. So what happens then is this becomes a thing. Mitchell Robinson and Jalen Brunson are out for the second leg of a road back-to-back in Golden State. The Knicks are obviously in trouble. Karl-Anthony Towns goes out there, and I think he gave us 14 and 20 with 8 offensive rebounds. So he heard the noise, he responded, and just when you're finally ready to put that to bed, he goes and does Karl-Anthony Towns stupid shit, which he has a reputation for, where he just gets 2 of the most needless fouls after he had already accumulated 3 of them, giving him 5 like this, out of the game, 10 plus minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he's gone, and the Knicks end up losing by double digits. Incredibly frustrating, because I thought he brilliantly put on the hat of Mitchell Robinson, taking care of the glass, closing out defensive possessions, creating second chance opportunities, even scoring, doing everything that was needed from him. And now it's something else now. And it should not be a thing. This should not be a thing. Karl-Anthony Towns is the perfect complement to Jalen Brunson offensively. He is the unanimous best shooting center in the world. And to be able to space the floor for an undersized guard that can operate in space with the efficiency that Jalen Brunson does, you have to have Cat out there. Otherwise, defenders are going to slump off of Mitchell Robinson if that was him. Ariel Huck-Porty, they're not guarding him from 30 feet away. Then Jalen Brunson has to navigate additional defenders. So just his mere presence creates a gravity that is so complementary to Jalen Brunson that I will not be entertaining any sort of transaction which involves trading him for anyone, including Giannis, period. Thank you for letting me vent. Sorry, chat. Now I'm reading the chat. Wayne says that Austin Rivers said he knows Kuminga's camp and that not playing him is personal. Well, Kuminga's camp also, by the way, is his brother, if I'm not mistaken. His brother is, I don't know if he's his agent, but he's definitely one of his managers. And it's like talking to Thanasis about Giannis. Like it's us versus them type of responses and mentalities, right? I don't know if you're going to get an objective point of view from his brother on that one. Danny says the Wolves and the Knicks both got better from that trade. That was one of the better trades in quite some time. Randall has obviously he might be the antidote, by the way, in defending Victor Wembanyama, just because he's got the size, the foot speed, and the bully ball mentality. You cannot have any size unless your name is Kel'el Ware. Mitchell Robinson, kind of close. Giannis, kind of close. Kel'el Ware is the only guy that I've seen been able to meet Godzilla on the battlefield. Ghidorah versus Godzilla. Chet Holmgren doesn't qualify. I don't think he's done it in mass sample size yet. So what OKC has resorted to is what we saw in their victory. They're going to send J-Dub, Jalen Williams, out there to 3/4 front. And anytime Victor Wembanyama wants to catch the ball, it's got to be in the coffin corner. We are not going to let him get to the nail on the free throw line where he can turn, face, and then the optionality of a wide open floor with a width from sideline to sideline. We're going to put in the work before he catches the ball so that it's in a position where he really just has to show off some insane creativity to get up an open look. I thought that OKC did that wonderfully, and they were doing it even when J-Dub was hurt with Alex Caruso against Nikola Jokic. So they are not sending Chet Holmgren out there to defend Victor Wembanyama because even his size, length, and wingspan is not influencing a dude who has more shots released above 11 feet off the ground than the rest of the NBA combined right now. That's a fact, by the way. I think there's 4 or 5 total that the release point is north of 11 feet with Victor Wembanyama. So he's actually shooting down when he jumps and he's fully extended. So guys like Julius Randle that can use a more condensed center of gravity to get him off of those spots so that he has to catch it 25 feet away from the rim and it's kind of free throw line extended. That is as optimal of a position that Wemby can be in if you're a defense. He's going to find the ball at some point, but if he has to start from all the way out there, mission accomplished. Evan Mobley too, yeah. Mobley's in the category. Jaren Jackson Jr., some of these guys can't stay out of foul trouble, though. If I could go back to April 2023, what would I do differently with the Grizzlies? Helwick, remind me what happened then. What happened in 2023? I know you picked that year specifically for a reason. That was Dylan Brooks, right? Dylan Brooks didn't end up going 2024. He got signed with Houston. Yeah, I definitely would have re-signed Dylan Brooks. At the time, it seemed like a laughable contract, but man, he is such a tone setter, culture builder. You have to have one of those guys, man. I know people despise Draymond, but every dynasty has had a Draymond Green. They've had a Bill Laimbeer, a Dennis Rodman, a Bruce Bowen. You have to have one of those guys willing to do the dirty work. Dylan Brooks certainly qualifies, as does Draymond. Yeah, so that was the 2 seed, right? That was against the Lakers. Was that the series against the Lakers in the first round where Austin Reeves hit the game winner? I'm him. Shannon Sharp courtside. But yeah, I don't know what firing Taylor Jenkins accomplished because John Morant he's hurt. Is he injured or is he hurt? Something tells me he's going to be feeling better after he gets traded. Just a hunch. The same way that Trae Young has suddenly got quad problems when the Wizards need to tank. I'm not going to question the legitimacy of the injury because he might actually be hurt, but you better believe taking their time coming back. Same year, the Kings weren't the 1 seed that year, were they? I thought it was 3 versus 6. I thought it was 1 seed Kings lost to Steph. Wasn't that a 3-6 series? Not 1-8. Am I wrong there? Yeah, 3-6 series. Thank you. My encyclopedia Helwick will always fact check the chat. Nico in the chat's asking, do I have a prediction about how the NBA investigation into potential Clippers salary cap circumvention resolves after All-Star? That's the answer. They ain't doing shit till All-Star weekend. Or the only way that they reveal the findings, they will drop it on Super Bowl Sunday when no one's paying attention. They're hosting the All-Star game. They do not want anything to take away from that major showcase event. We'll deal with this shit after. And honestly, if it wasn't for Pablo, do people still care? Clippers suck. Not to take away from if it happened or not, but I'm just saying people, if they were the 1 seed in the West and Kawhi was an MVP, like everyone would be like, man, they cheated. They got this guy. But if you cheat and you still suck, people care less about you cheating. I think that's only natural. Matthew Dellavedova. Yeah, that Cavs team, I was speaking more towards dynasties, but I guess they were an Eastern Conference dynasty. Matthew Dellavedova, Tristan Thompson doing a lot of dirty work. What are you guys doing this weekend? Vegan Barbie comes out of the shadows. Right, it was out. Now I can't sign off. Vegan Barbie, you are responsible for me having a bad night's sleep this week. Would you like to know why? Because you recommended in the chat, or you asked me, had I seen the movie Begonia? And then I watched it. And I started it around 11 p.m. Pacific time. And that's not the easiest movie to go straight to sleep after watching. I did watch it. It was very entertaining, but I do not feel the need to watch it again. That ending was trippy as fuck. I don't want to spoil it for those people that didn't see it, but here's what's going to happen with your Clippers, though. Vegan Barbie. Excuse me, we're creeping up to 500. Okay, congratulations. Like, you're going to qualify through the play-in tournament. You're going to end up playing OKC in the first round. Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are going to go berserk and steal game 1 in OKC. Everyone's going to be questioning the invincibility of this team. Then you're going to lose 4 straight. Because that's what James Harden does. So yeah, I think you'll find your way to the 9 or 10. You'll get the 8 seed in the playoffs, and you will win 1 game against OKC. Begonia was a good movie on Peacock. Thank you, Nico. I concur. It's a little messed up, but it's very accurate. For those of you that don't know, it's a movie about 2, is it safe to say stupid, like legally stupid conspiracy theorists. Very good acting, by the way. 2 stupid conspiracy theorists, which sounds redundant, that think the CEO of a tech company is an alien. So they kidnap her. And the rest is for you to consume. Vegan Barbie says, yeah, it's so good. Definitely had to palate cleanse with some King of Queens before going to bed after. I had to do New York Times word puzzle for a little bit after that ending. But thank you for the recommendation. And I would not have watched it unless I saw your chat. So I am watching and I'm doing my homework. Jesse Plemons. Oh, Jesse is, that's the guy from Breaking Bad, right? Todd. His range as an actor is wild. He was in a movie with Kirsten Dunst too. He's unintentionally funny, kind of stoic, kind of weird, but man, he's got range as an actor. I can appreciate that. Yorgos Lanthimos is just like that. Correct, Helwick. Yes, you've seen enough. You are old enough to have seen James Harden against Jonathan Simmons, Spurs Rockets, and what Simmons did to him. I remember in that moment, I declared and promised myself, I will never believe in a James Harden team ever again after what Jonathan Simmons did. No Kawhi Leonard in that game. They had the luxury of being able to lose one before needing to close it out. That was one of the more embarrassing performances by something done to a star in playoff history. That is not hyperbole. And I'm not, obviously not a prisoner of the moment because that was so long ago. In that moment, I promised I will never, ever pick a James Harden team to win a championship for the rest of my life. James Harden is going to win you 2 out of 7 games. Absolutely. He had that 50 ball for the Philadelphia 76ers against the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. Crushed that game. Wonderful performance. But in a sample size of 7, there's going to be a majority of stinkers as opposed to getting that 4th W, which is the hardest one. Someone like Kevin Durant and the Rockets is going to find a way to win 2 games against OKC. I'm looking for that 3rd and 4th game. NBA is 4 out of 7, and it's not March Madness, and it's not best of 5 anymore. My Knicks will face the Cavs and not make it out of the first round. If there's one team the Knicks are not worried about, it's the Cavs. All we do is beat their ass. Jesse Plemons has been in Best Picture nominee every year since 2012, except 1 year. Wow. I didn't know that. If that's a fact, I believe it because he's one hell of an actor. Helwick says, I didn't attend 2017 Game 6 Rocket Spurs because I thought it was a guaranteed loss. One of the best wins of my life. I wouldn't have gone to that either. The Spurs were punting that game on purpose, and they destroyed the Rockets that game. Never forget it. That was such a beatdown. That reminds me of the Chris Paul Phoenix Suns versus Mavericks game. Like people were too exhausted to boo, and they just left. Is there a game on? Oh, there's games on. We've reached 4:15 p.m. Pacific time, which means that nationally televised ESPN game is just getting started. It's been a fun week, my friends, of doing shows with you all. I love going down memory lane like this. So the whole point of doing this show is when you ask a good question, it's going to inspire conversation, which leads to like little spin-off stories. Right. And you get a question about which year did I have the most fun covering? That leads to a conversation on 2016. And then we can go down memory lane with some of these playoff series and stuff like that, and then relate it to current day. That's the whole point. And if we actually got some news that's worth betting, our partners at ProfitX are on the screen as always. Maybe the technology will work one of these days too. Chases breed chases. So I'm not going to be around starting around 7 o'clock. If there's a chase tonight, unfortunately, we're going to have to watch it on replay because I'm going to get dumplings. Be on a date. I got a buddy in from, you guys met him. Bam Bam is here with his wife. So we're going out to dinner. But if there's chases, we'll get back to it at some point. Huge 3 to cut the lead to 37. Spurs are the winningest franchise of all time, and they're 10-18 when I'm in attendance. So bad luck anyway. Good point. I feel the same way. I'm a bit of a mush. Vegan Barbie, you get the last word. Poor Things was good too. Yorgos definitely has signature cadence to his movies and makes you think about it long after watching. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending again, but it's so absurd and ridiculous that it actually makes sense. And I see the intention of why he ended it that way. It does require thought, and you're like, oh, he's trying to give some truth, but there's a little bit of truth to a conspiracy theorist, and this is his way of displaying it. The vegan Barbie effect, says the chat. She made me watch a movie. Even a girl I'm dating can't force me to watch a movie if there's basketball on, but she did. It's the power of vegan Barbie. It's been a pleasure, my friends. Y'all have a good weekend. Be back on Monday. We can talk about the national championship game. $4,000 to get in, standing room only. Who's paying those prices, by the way? You guys go have a good weekend. Beautiful day here in Southern California. I will see y'all on the timeline. Deuces.